Would you ever fake your own death in order to escape something in your life and to start a new one? This is one of several theories behind the fate of Alfred Lowenstein, whose case is one of the most enigmatic unsolved mysteries in modern history. In 1928, Belgian financier and wealthy entrepreneur Alfred Lowenstein was the world's third richest man when he supposedly fell 4,000 feet into the English Channel. On July 4th, Lowenstein, a professional airman himself, and 6 of his employees boarded his private plane, a Fokker trimotor, which took off from Croydon Airport and was headed to Brussels, Lowenstein's home city. This was a routine flight, as the wealthy banker lived there with his wife, Madeleine. On that fateful day, the skies were clear, the weather was fine, and the flight could not be smoother. As the aircraft was flying over the English Channel, Lowenstein went to use the bathroom at the rear of the plane. After what felt like a fairly long time, Lowenstein's valet went to check on him to make sure that he was okay, but to his great surprise, Lowenstein was gone. After the valet reported the shocking disappearance to the rest of the crew, pilot Donald Drew made an emergency landing on the beach of St. Paul, near Dunkirk, France. All the people on board were questioned, and an investigation was conducted by the French authorities. 15 days after a failed search and rescue operation, Lowenstein's body was found by local fishermen, floating in the sea just off the French coast. The body was in such a bad state of decay that the fishermen could barely stomach the smell. The captain of the ship identified Lowenstein by his wristwatch, which had his name and address inscribed on it. An autopsy was requested by his widow, which revealed that every bone in his body had been broken by the 4,000-foot fall, but there was neither any evidence of foul play or that Lowenstein had taken his own life. The crew gave their testimony, and the death was officially declared an accident, although the odd circumstances around this case left many people in doubt. It's quite unlikely that Lowenstein magically dematerialized or was somehow Star Trek beamed from the aircraft. So what actually happened? Was it really an accident? Had Lowenstein stepped into the sky instead of the cabin, perhaps during turbulence? Surely you've got to be extremely absent-minded to make such a mistake. Based on testimony from both the pilot and the mechanic in charge of the aircraft, the exit door was easy to open. However, the integrity of the small aeroplane's door was thoroughly tested by the British Air Ministry, who claimed it would have been impossible for it to be opened by accident. This detail should have certainly raised suspicion, as it indicated that the pilot and the mechanic were lying. When his remains were examined, there were traces of alcohol in Lowenstein's blood. This was strange, because it was known that he never drank, and he wasn't seen drinking on the flight. If on this occasion he was under the influence, could it be that the exit door had accidentally been left open on takeoff, and tipsy Alfred leaned or bumped against it and fell out? Or maybe he just got confused and went for the exit door instead of the bathroom. It doesn't sound likely. As it shows in these diagrams, the rear compartment of the aircraft was separated from the cabin. If someone stepped into the back of the plane, the exit door would have been on the right, and the bathroom would have been on their left. Did he take his own life? It was said that Lowenstein always seemed in good spirits and enthusiastic about his future plans. But nobody can ever tell what really goes on in other people's minds. It could well be that he did make this decision. You see, his corrupt business practices were about to be exposed. But, if this is the case, how did he actually do it? And why choose such a bizarre method? Surely you would choose a method that didn't implicate the involvement of other people. Another intriguing hypothesis is that he faked his own death to escape impending financial or legal troubles, or because he had a secret affair and eloped with one of his housemaids. It was reported that Lowenstein had withdrawn a large sum of money a few days before July the 4th, so perhaps he carefully engineered his own death, bribed all his employees on board, and the aircraft landed somewhere else to let him off, before it officially landed where the accident was reported. Or perhaps he had never been on the plane at all. With the body only being identified by the watch, could the battered old remains have just been some other poor soul who matched Lowenstein's build? The most thrilling theory is that the crew on board of the plane were all involved. a bit like Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. Was he forced out? And if yes, by whom and why? Apparently, two men especially benefited from his death: his business partners, Albert Pam and Frederick Zarvazy. This was thanks to various company insurance policies hedging against Lowenstein's death. It may be that Pam and Zarvazy paid pilot Donald Drew and mechanic Robert Little to eliminate Lowenstein and convince everyone about how easy it was to open the exit door. But how would they have done it without anyone else noticing? Like any other wealthy and powerful men in the world, Lowenstein had a great deal of enemies. In 1926, he established international holdings, which raised large amounts of money from numerous investors. By 1928, these shareholders wanted some return on their stake, and they wanted it sooner rather than later. So conceivably, any of these rich investors could have commissioned one or more members of the crew to commit the murder. There were also rumours that Lowenstein had been involved with American crime boss Arnold Rothstein. So could it be that the latter had a score to settle with the banker? What about his wife Madeleine? Apparently they had a loveless marriage. Could she have been so desperate to get her hands on his fortune? She could have paid the staff to forcibly throw him out of the plane. It seems that she was so busy investing the fortune that she had just inherited that she didn't even turn up to her own husband's funeral. In 1987, author William Norris published a book called The Man Who Fell from the Sky, where he brought to light some curious details about this story. Why did pilot Donald Drew decide to land on an empty beach instead of the nearby airfield at St. Inglevert? Norris's theory was so that another rear door, previously hidden on board the plane, could be fitted to replace a fake one dumped over the channel. This fits neatly with the story given by a French fisherman who recalled seeing something like a parachute falling from the sky at precisely the moment Lowenstein went missing. With the door removed, Lowenstein could have easily been pushed or thrown to his death. This supports Norris's theory that Lowenstein's business partners, Pam and Zarvazy, hired at least two people to kill Alfred, most likely the two people who gave convincing testimonies about how easy it was to open the exit door: the pilot Donald Drew and the mechanic Robert Little. 1 year after Lowenstein's mysterious disappearance, the stock market crash led to the Great Depression, and some years later, his son Robert shot one of his servants under suspicious circumstances. Bad luck seemed like it really followed the Lowenstein family. Robert himself then also died in an aeroplane accident in 1941. Alfred Lowenstein's bizarre vanishing left the Air Force baffled, and the more theories and testimonies surface, the more confusing his death appears to be. So, was it the perfect crime? Or was it really just a bizarre accident? In such cases, you really wish Agatha Christie's famous Belgian sleuth, Poirot, was not just a fictional character, as he would have confidently solved this incredible mystery. No one was ever charged with the murder, nor even directly accused. Alfred Lowenstein was so despised that he ended up being buried in an unmarked grave, which also seems suspicious. Despite all the theories and possibilities posed, this mystery is likely to remain frustratingly unsolved. What do you think happened?